Because we've got Ronnie all the way to Austin, but if you go any further than that, you might be out. I know, that's why I was...
Hang on. Oh my God, my thing just messed up.
Go up over.
I can't.
No, do this.
You all tonight on behalf of the City of Huntsville. I'm your Mayor, Travis Dotson, and I'll be moderating this event with the help of Brandy Holt, who's our Economic Development Director. I want to thank, first and foremost, all the panelists that agreed to come. We've got some of the board members up here. We've got some of our city council members sitting over here. So, guys, and I didn't prepare a statement, so I just want to be very clear about this. This is a town hall meeting. This is not a debate. So you're more than welcome to speak your mind, say whatever you feel like you need to do. But I'm going to tell you right now, we're going to be very specific and on point with questions or comments that you want to make or ask. More than all right. But we're going to be on point. We're talking about specifically the jail and the jail tax. I'll get into the rules here in a minute. But anyway, the one thing I'll say to everybody, whether you're for or against this tax, it's relevant to the City of Huntsville. I mean, it really is. We're all here to get our questions answered and our comments made, okay? Again, whether you're for or against this, I ask that you're respectful, and I ask that you keep it dignified, because the one commonality that we all have in this room right now is we're all Madison County residents, and we try to champion each other's cause every chance that we get. So I try, and again, for or against, we may have a disagreement. As long as we're respectful and we're kind about this thing will go off without a hitch. This is more of an educational town hall than it is anything. So I just really appreciate you all and for being here, and the panelists do as well. Again, I appreciate all of them for showing up to answer some of these questions or the comments that you may have. Couple thanks that we want to give to some people here. Carroll Electric, Brandon Thomas, where are you at? Brandon Thomas is the IT guy. He's also a local. Yeah, he's also a local over here. He's actually kin to me, Brandon. So thank you for doing what you do for Carroll Electric. Thank you for getting us in business with these microphones. Huntsville School District and their IT and media department, we had a little trouble with the number of microphones that we had here for the panelists, so they showed up at the 9th hour and helped us out. So thanks to the Huntsville School District. Coder Surplus, Bettina Coder, she's also one of our council members. She donated the stools up here that these panelists are sitting on. And again, panelists, JPs, city council members, thank you all for showing up. We also have tonight with us interpreters from the Arkansas database of Arkansas, Ms. Stephanie Patterson and Ms. Mary Winkus. I hope I said that right. Our timekeepers tonight are fine city employees. We've got Ms. Becky Nelly and Ms. Carmen Watkins that's going to be keeping time to keep everything on point and on track. I mean, Becky, we couldn't do it without you, sister, and your number's upside down. So all right, I'm going to get into the meeting rules. This is not going to take just a second, or I hope not for just a second, but these are important. I'll go back to what I said originally. First and most importantly, this being a town hall and not a debate, and whether for or against, we ask that everyone that is in attendance be respectful and kind, asking the questions or making statements, as well as the panelists or officials when answering them. This town hall is strictly and specifically designed to be educational and informative for both sides of the argument for the county's proposed maintenance and operation tax. Questions or statements that have no bearing or specificity to the proposed tax will not be considered and are prohibited. Any questions or statements for or against the proposed tax specifically will be answered and will be heard. Introductions. We will allow each of the panelists and elected officials in attendance an opening statement, approximately 2 minutes. We will ask that each state their name and position within the county, and then allow for an opening statement. There will be no anonymous statements or questions. We must have a name and the general area where you live. So an example of this is if you want to ask a question, we ask that you say, "Hey, I'm John Smith from Huntsville." It could be the best question of the night, but it won't be asked if it's anonymous. So state your name, and then we'll then direct your question to the panelists here. For those in attendance and participating, we will ask that you please state the panelist or the elected official who you want to answer the question or make a statement to. You can select from any one of these officials seated in front of you, and you are permitted to make generalized statements directed at all panelists or elected officials that does not require an answer. However, in fairness, we will give each panelist or elected official the opportunity to respond to your statement. We will do our best to limit the questions or statements to a determined amount of time. We want to get to everyone. Should you be asking the question, we will allow approximately 1 minute for you to ask your question or to make your statement. The panelist or elected official that has asked the question or statement will be allowed, give me a second, approximately two minutes to respond and answer. If the audience member would like to add a follow-up after receiving the answer for clarification, we will allow another minute. Should any other panelist like to add to the answer of the original question once it's been answered by the intended official, we will allow approximately 1 minute for addition of statements. We have surveyed the county as well as our citizens on the most asked questions or comments that have arisen when discussing the proposed tax. For this, we will have questions that will be asked by the moderators, fill-in questions. I've prepared about 10 or 12. This is very organic. We want you all asking the questions, not me. We hope that those that are participating will ask questions or comments more so than me, the moderator. But I'm going to give you an example. We'll go ahead and kick this thing off right now. I have prepared a question, and this is how I would ask each of you all to do this. So, my name is Travis Dotson. Again, I'm from Huntsville. I'm going to direct my question at Mr. Larry Garrett, who is the judge. Judge, a few months back, there was an idea floated that the county could consider leasing the new jail to the state, like Phillips County in southeast Arkansas is doing. Could you explain why this could or could not work for Madison County?
Am I on? Okay. I just want everybody to know that I have visited with Judge Hall in Phillips County numerous times. And Phillips County passed a 1 cent sales tax to build and operate a 100-bed facility. The 1 cent took half of that to pay their bonds for, keep track here and do the math, to pay their bonds. Left them a half cent to operate. They could not do it. So what Judge Hall done was he made a contract with the state for the state to take over that facility and operate it, and also that was to put state prisoners in it. Judge Hall signed a 45-year contract with the state. State pays Phillips County $1 a year. Oh my goodness, not a minute already. So I guess what I want to say, and I'll try to get through this really quickly, but that 1 cent wouldn't operate and pay for the jail. Phillips County is down in southeast Arkansas in the Delta country. They have a declining population in southeast Arkansas. Not a growing population like we have here in Madison County. I also visited with State Board of Corrections. State Board of Corrections told me that if we done a contract with the state, it would be very similar to what Phillips County done. The only difference would be is our jail is a little larger, so they'd give us 25 beds instead of 20, but we still have to pay for it. Phillips County still have to pay for their jail, just like we would have to, thank you ma'am, if we let that go to the state. The state would operate it, y'all are going to still have to pay for it.
Thank you, Judge. One thing that I failed to do, One thing that's hard, yeah. Oh, no, you're fine. One thing that I failed to do was we were going to let the panelists introduce themselves and give about a 2-minute synopsis of kind of where we're at and talk about the jail tax and all that. So I'll go ahead and start here with Sheriff Boyd. Go ahead, Ronnie.
I'm Ronnie Boyd. I'm your Madison County Sheriff. Never known for being too talkative, so I'll probably be under my 2 minutes for sure. But we've been doing this for about 3 years, trying to get this all done. We're growing. We all live here together. It's going to take us being united. We can disagree, absolutely. I can talk to anybody. We can have civil conversation. I'm all for that. I know we won't always see eye to eye, but we live here together. Let's work together and let's see what we can do. We're growing. That's not going away, and I think this jail is something that we need for our county. Thank you.
Chief Todd Thomas, City of Huntsville. Again, I'm just here to answer questions, anything, and however it relates to the City of Huntsville and the police department, the residents. I think this is very important. I'm thankful for everybody that came out tonight and those that orchestrated this. I think it's important that we, as public servants, that we're here listening to what you guys have to say, because I'm sure we're all going to walk away from this learning something. Or at least that's what I hope so. That's really all I've got. I'm here to answer questions, not give a lecture. So, Larry.
Y'all already heard from me. My name's Larry Garrett, Madison County Judge. This jail is huge. This is a big deal for the county. And this sales tax does a lot, not just for the jail, but it also does a lot for EMS and allowing funds to go back into EMS, and several things happen for them as they're growing. This county is growing. We need more medical people. We need another squad, which we plan to do next year.
My name is Austin Boatwright. I'm a Madison County clerk. Unlike Sheriff Boyd, I am in fact known for being talkative, but I'll try to keep it brief because I was actually told beforehand that if I go over 2 minutes, Carmen will tackle me. So, anyway, beyond that, I can't really say anything more or less than what Sheriff Boyd and Judge Garrett has said, and the need for the jail here. I'll just reference that I'm the Secretary of the Quorum Corps, so I'm here to represent them and what I've heard from them in that capacity. I'm also the accounts payable and payroll clerk for the county, so that if you want to direct questions regarding to expenditures, revenues, feel free to ask any questions. And other than that, I think it's important to hear from you guys tonight, and I look forward to answering questions.
Thank you, Austin. All right, so does everybody understand what we prepped this just a moment ago with Judge Garrett and how we asked the question? All right, well, let's go ahead and get started then. Who's got a question that they'd like to ask or statement that they'd like? Yes, ma'am.
Jenny Haney, your Birmingham County. The only question that I have, and it's for all of you, is that the money that we collect from this tax will completely go straight only to the jail, correct?
Let me answer that if I could.
Thank you.
The ordinance that put the sales tax on the ballot plainly states that the sales tax can only go for the operation and maintenance of the jail. If there is any money left over, that money can go towards paying off the bonds that is financing the jail. So we're going to see the jail, I mean, we're already paying, it's bringing in more money than what the payment is. So we're paying ahead, but any money that's left over from operation and maintenance would go to pay that tax.
Thank you, Judge. Next question. Anybody? Okay, got 2 of them. Here you go. State your name and then which panelist you want to speak to, okay?
My name is Adam Sprinkle. I live in Warren, Arkansas. My question is, you're asking the voters again to pay for a 1% tax. What guarantees us that the money is actually going to be used or is being allocated? The voters have decided twice already to vote against the tax. We are asking them for the 3rd time to to vote for it. They voted for a 1% tax for EMS, and all of those funds do not go to EMS, and the voters voted for that. How can you guarantee us that the money you're going to collect on this tax,
You want to answer this?
respectfully,
Sure. Hey, and to follow up on this, we've had this conversation today, just so you know, with the judge and the sheriff. We had an emergency management meeting, Greg Wheeler. Will you elaborate too and speak specifically? I think it's important for people to realize the EMS tax is a general fund tax. So will you explain that, Austin? And then Larry, you can follow up with that.
He actually has the ordinance.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
Okay, that's a very good question. I'm glad you asked it. Many people in the county do ask this. I don't know if it's something that was not necessarily marketed well back in the 80s when this ordinance was passed, or that it's changed over time, people's conception, because yes, that 1% sales tax that was passed back in the 80s, its primary function, it has been used to fund EMS. The exact language, which I have the ordinance that Judge Sheeran handed me here, I'm just going to skip down to Article 5 that says that contingent upon the adoption of this sales tax, the Madison County Emergency Medical Service shall be fully funded from the sales tax proceeds with any surplus to be added to the county general fund. So that's the big difference between the tax that was passed in the 80s that was used to primarily fund the EMS department, and over time, EMS has increased billing with more county residents moving in, billing practices changing over time, insurance companies increasing reimbursements. So they have actually been increasing the fees that they brought in, so that makes us less reliant on the tax to make them fully operational, and has also given us the opportunity to expand, increase crews, hopefully more improvements in the future. But that also means that more of those funds, by definition, become general funds that can be used across the county. But to answer your question about this tax specifically, this is a dedicated tax, not a general tax. So it specifically says that these, the funds received from this 1% sales tax will be used specifically for the jail and other facilities related thereto. So in paying off the bonds, like Larry said. So in that sense, it only will go towards operating, maintaining the jail, paying off bonds, and any future expansions or improvements to the jail that might be necessary as time progresses.
Thank you, Austin. Does that answer your question? The follow-up is, I guess, to your question, Judge, and I'll let you answer this. You wanted to have more oversight, more transparency. There's been an uptick on social media that I have noticed that has basically stipulated that, hey, would the county be interested, even though they've got a quorum court that kind of oversees everything that goes on, right? And we have a legislative audit that both we're governed by and the county's governed by. You're asking for more oversight, though, in the last part of your question. So I'm going to ask this because it's one of my questions. With that request and more oversight, would you be willing, as judge, to put an advisory board together, not to have oversight over the sheriff or the quorum court or you, but an advisory board to allow, whenever the funds come in, to make sure that they're being spent properly and all that until everybody's used to what's going on?
Thank you. Right now, the way it works is when we receive money and there's money that is spent, those expenditures go from the clerk to my office, then to the clerk's office or the treasurer's office where she pays the bills. Then it goes to the quorum court, and they see that every month. So if there's something array, it gets caught. Now, I actually would be fine with appointing an advisory committee, but you got to understand that an advisory committee has no rulemaking authority. What they can do is they can make suggestions. But I would suggest that to the quorum court, and I think the sheriff and I discussed this today. He's not opposed to that.
Sheriff, I'll give you this, do you agree with that?
Well, what I was thinking, I've been considering for some time is the sheriff's advisory board. I've tried doing community meetings and just couldn't get a whole lot of turnout stuff, but if we could get some members from all around the county talking to us, maybe I can inform them more what's going on in the sheriff's office, where we're deficient at, why we can't do certain things. I get people asking, some want me to, have a deputy out on the road patrolling traffic, and we've got 832 square miles. We've been short-staffed, 4 or 5 deputies for most of the time I've been in office. Recently, we just got fully staffed, but we still have one that needs to go to the academy, but we're getting everybody out there. But the demands we do a lot of stuff here. It takes time answering calls, it takes time investigating calls. It takes, a lot of paperwork. You got to arrest somebody, you got to drive back. It takes time to do those reports. We've got civil process we got to serve, sex offender notifications, checking up on the sex offenders too. We got a lot of tasks that I don't think a lot of people understand and see. We're stretched thin. I wish we had more personnel. I think we're still, even at full staff right now, we've got 13 deputies. I think we need about 18 deputies to really be fully functioning sheriff's office. I know it's hard to come by. We're pushing. We're trying to do that. We're trying to make sure we can get the best law enforcement possible in the county.
So you would then support like a sheriff's commission then, or try to form one?
I would like one myself just to talk to the people, get their input from their communities, and so we could do another oversight committee, I guess, if the judge wanted to form it. But like I said, I'd like to have that connection with the people and have our own sheriff's advisory.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Let me add just real quick.
You got a minute.
You won't take that hard. Let me add that an advisory committee that got recommended or brought before the court, that's their decision.
Thank you, Judge. Sorry. We wanted a little bit of clarification here, so go right ahead, sir.
As much as I want oversight, that is a good step. It's no secret that I am against the 1% tax. I am in favor of a jail. I think we do need a jail to protect our community. How we get there, we disagree. If the voters vote no this time around, what safeguards can we get for EMS? I'm under the impression that EMS could be put into a dedicated fund for EMS. If that was something that could happen, I'd be in support of the tax.
Did you copy that?
I'm not sure I understood it, the last part.
So the last part of it, and I want you to speak right into this microphone so everybody can hear you.
Is there a way to remove the EMS funds from the general funds and put it into a dedicated account for EMS?
And he did say that he would be in support of the tax if there's something that you could do about that. That would actually take a vote, would it not, Judge?
We would.
Yep.
To remove the EMS fund the way it is, or the general tax the way it is, it would take a vote of the people. But if the sales tax passed for the jail, that could be a possibility. The problem that we have is with the general fund with EMS is they are fully funded. They got needs, they have wants, and we try to take care of those. But a lot of those funds that come over into the general part, those are the funds that we're using to transport prisoners, house prisoners in other counties. Got a total of $572,000 a year that we transfer for prisoner housing.
Thank you, Judge. Yes, ma'am.
My turn.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm Marlita Brock, and I live on Owen Mountain. And I've got
You want to ask a question too?
well, I don't know who needs to answer it.
All right, we'll just ask.
So I'll
later.
just ask and they can answer
You
it.
betcha.
Okay. So I guess it's several fold. Is there a maintenance and operation fund now for the jail? And how do we keep a jail running if there's not? And we do have one running right now. And we're planning on renting out over half the jail. At least according to what we were told when it was proposed to build it. So why are we funding the entire jail? What's gonna happen with all these rented rooms? Who's paying for them, and where does that money go? That's my question.
Thank you, ma'am. I think that's gonna take more than one of you to answer, so Sheriff, do you wanna go?
Okay. I don't think anybody ever said that we were gonna rent out over half, okay? I know I never said that. But anyway, what I said whenever we were talking about jail, I thought 100-bed facility would do us, whenever we first talked about it. That would cover our needs of the current housing situation that we have, and it would also allow for us to start misdemeanor justice as well, and house even more felons that we do let go. But
They're not felons until they're guilty, and then they're belong to AOC.
Felony charges or, okay.
They're just
But we
hostages.
saw the opportunity also, because we know we're growing, and we can get 48 more beds, almost 50% more capacity for $1.7 million more. And so that's why we came up with 148 beds, okay? It was basically designed where, yes, we could eventually, give rooms out to, not give, but.
Rent.
Rent, okay, if you want to use that term, to other agencies as well. So it was never designed that it's going to be a money-making deal for us, but we can bring income revenue back in to help operate the jail as well. So we never had a plan, that was not the plan, is to rent half the rooms out, or beds out to other agencies. Did you have something else I need to answer on that?
Let me, if I could.
Wait, he's
Okay,
not done.
okay, go
Let
ahead.
me look. Yeah, I still don't understand where he's coming from.
Still don't understand where Sheriff's coming from.
Okay, one of the things that she stated is we have a jail that we're operating.
We are.
We are operating a 24-hour holding
We are.
facility.
That costs money. It takes personnel.
When-
I mean, we're paying all this already.
Well, that's where.
You're gonna
we're
move
using
it
our
to the new jail.
We're using our dispatchers as jailers right now, so that's part of what we're doing there. And we also have,
Okay.
we do have some funds dedicated to special detention, to help pay for meals and stuff, but we only hold them for 24 hours.
Right.
We've got to find somewhere to go with them or release them.
Judge, what's the, and I'm gonna ask you off the cuff here, this is something that I didn't know that was gonna come up, but about what do we spend on the current holding facility now, the 24-hour facility, and is anybody that works down there here? I thought that somebody was here. But my point is how much do we spend on that operationally? I think will help answer her question a little bit. Okay. Austin, do you know how much we currently spend? And I'm talking about the jailer, dispatcher, and overhead and all that of that.
That's not necessarily going to be harder to separate. I do have numbers here, but it's for overall jail costs. So I'm just going to run through, for instance, the salaries, as Sheriff Boyd said, our dispatchers function as jailers, which is another thing that moving to the sales tax, we try to move away from so that jailers and dispatchers can be separated.
That means we did all.
So, for instance, the jailer dispatcher salaries, for full-time salaries, it's $367,202.85. Their overtime, and I'll note this was last year's expenditures. Their overtime was $56,603.76. Social Security matching, $31,284.67. Retirement, $64,335.37. Health insurance, $52,843.79. Workers' comp, $8,396.64. Unemployment compensation, $172.04. Life insurance, $1,165.32. And then their vacation pay, $6,435.75. That's just the dispatcher jailers. There's also someone paid out of the sheriff's department that is the jail administrator, and that the money for that would include a combination of $46,770.78, $9,356.34, $4,502.94, $8,598.67, $6,107.28, $419.52, $2,734.80. So just to try to wrap this all up, taking out the prisoner housing that we do in separate counties, it would be roughly, and again, this is just what we're operating in Madison County, not including the prisoner housing we have throughout the state. It would be roughly $616,421.
So where's that money going if we get this other 1%? Why isn't that money going to this jail?
All the salaries?
Yeah,
all the
they
dispatcher
should.
salaries would still have to be paid for dispatchers.
They're in the jail then. They're part of the jail.
No.
No, they can't.
They are gonna be in the jail, housed there physically?
It's the jail.
Since
and
when?
sheriff's office.
It's a segregated room. Arkansas
It's
County,
part of the jail, is it not?
they can't do both. It's against the law.
They can't function as jail.
No, but that's not what I'm asking. It's part of the building.
It's gonna be.
It's all housed in the same building, and it's gonna be called Madison County Jail, correct?
Well, it's the sheriff's office and jail. We
Uh-huh.
are moving out there.
We're
Yes.
all moving out there, so is all our budgets moving out there and being used, just like they're used right now, to do what's being gonna be done? What's being done now to be done then too? Am I not making sense?
I think you are.
Okay,
Okay.
so that's my question. What happens to all this money that we're spending already? If we need another $1.5 million on top of the million we're already spending?
Okay,
So.
That's
we-
my question.
okay, thank you.
We are separating the dispatcher and jailer duties. They're not in the jail, okay?
Yes, they are.
They're in the sheriff's office part of it. They're separated.
They're part
from-
of the jail.
from the jail.
They're part of that building that we're looking for this 1% to maintain and operate.
But they're not gonna be acting as jailers anymore.
That's not what she's saying.
That's not what I'm saying.
Okay, but actually, the salaries for the dispatchers, they get paid by E911. So, that's still gonna be there, that's gonna be an expenditure still for the dispatchers, okay? But then we're gonna have to hire on additional personnel to operate the jail as jailers as well. So that's where we need to make this operations tax for that.
So, okay. Don't make
The other
sense.
thing I would add probably to that, for a little bit of clarification on this as well, but the overhead right now, it's a much smaller facility and it's based upon, I mean, it's right underneath the courthouse, right?
Right.
So this is going to be a much larger facility. I don't know if that helps you, but
It's the same personnel. You're still using the same personnel.
okay.
We're not gonna say these 18 deputies or 13 deputies or whatever he said are never gonna be part of that jail. Because they are. They're gonna be housed there too.
Okay.
Because he's moving the sheriff's office
Okay.
there.
We'll
Okay.
have a separate sheriff's office budget.
We're going to, and I appreciate your question. We're going to have to move on so we
I know,
can get
that's
to other
fine.
questions here. Ms. Montoya.
My name is Pam Montoya, and I have business in Huntsville, live in Mountain. I've been in EMS and law enforcement support services, bail bonds for 4 decades plus. So I've seen a lot in the judicial system. My question to you, as a member of this community, what is the jail going to do for the community other than house prisoners? Because I think to get the tax on the ballot successfully through, you're gonna have to sell it to us of the benefits long-term to our community, to the recidivism. There's so many programs that can be put into that jail that will give back to the community. What are your thoughts on that as a panel?
Go ahead, Chair.
Okay, well, yes, I agree. It's gonna be a benefit, and it's gonna be a benefit because we are holding people accountable. If you hold them accountable with the small stuff, okay, maybe it won't lead to the big stuff. Give them some time to think about their actions. You know, that gives an opportunity. Maybe they can get some counseling as well in the jail. clear their head, if they're addicted to drugs, alcohol, whatever, it's gonna give them an opportunity to start thinking clearly, maybe make some choices. You know, further than that, I mean, it's gonna provide some new jobs, for citizens here in Madison County. I'd like to see, you know, get into schools, talk to some seniors, if they want a career in law enforcement, I'd like to help them out with that. Start out in the jail, give me 2-3 good years, I'll help get you in, you know, another agency, hopefully they want to stay here or work, get out in the field, be a deputy. But it's gonna be a big impact. It's gonna bring all of us together, the sheriff's office, dispatch, jail, it's all gonna be together. There'll be more efficiency. I think it's gonna, you know, as far as having to do long transports, be out of the county. Right now, we're using patrol deputies to do that, or sometimes I do it, sometimes the captain. We do whatever it takes to make it work. And, but it's gonna allow for better patrol in the county, have more deputies, doing those tasks instead of being out of the county, paying some more overtime. So there's going to be a lot of benefits to it. You know, I would like to see some ministry or something in the jail too, counseling. Let's try to reach some people, because ultimately, if we can't change their hearts and minds, then we're not going to have any success of anybody doing any better. In law enforcement, I like to see people change their lives. And you know, I've had people reach out to me here recently too, thanking us for what we've done, because we didn't cut the brakes. We held them accountable, and you know, now they're running out of time.
Sorry.
But they are trying to make a change in their lives, and that's a good thing. That's what I like to see in law enforcement.
Okay. Thanks, Sheriff.
I have,
You got a follow-up? All right.
you know. Okay, with that, I wanted to be a little more specific, because everything you just said told me how this tax is going to help the sheriff's department, which I'm all for that. But you didn't really say how it's going to help the community. And I wanted to see, because I'm on the fence, I'm all for the tax if I can see the benefits in the long, long term. I think you need to sell that to us. There's so many programs. I have a list, huge list of programs that can occur in that jail facility that will benefit the community. The pause and prisoners, the horses and inmates programs, ministry programs, AA. There's also a program called Community Bridges, which is a mental health program that's based in prisons and jails. That needs to happen.
Yeah, and first we got to get it going, and then we can start working on that, because a lot of those times it's going to take more personnel to do it. We got to figure out how to operate and you know, get the processes down with the jail. All these little extra things, everybody wants to see these programs, but we've got to first be able to operate and have a system down. You know, we got to cover the basics. We don't have a whole lot of extra money for personnel as well. And with the personnel that we have, what we're estimating, we're not going to be able to do the trash pickup and everything else, unless maybe we get some revenue in, or housing for some other agencies or something. But we can't just get it all at once. We got to start. We got to take you know, good logical steps to get there. I want to see people have, you know, have a good life, and they need help. And there's different avenues, like you said. There's plenty of programs, but we just can't try to do it all at once. Is what I'm saying.
Thank you, Sheriff. Hey, we have Judge Dale Ramsey here, the district court, and he wanted to follow up with Ms. Montoya.
I'm Dale Ramsey. I'm the district judge here in town. I'm from Whittier. Lived down there for about 15 years, and I'm the district judge for Carroll County and Madison County. And I set bonds for people. And in Carroll County, I go up there 3 days a week to the jail. And most of the times I'm there, I don't do it by Zoom. I'm there seeing prisoners and setting bonds and what they have to do to get out. And there's a big difference between Carroll County when they got a jail and Madison County where we don't. In Madison County, people get released when they fail to appear. We don't set very high bonds for them. Misdemeanors, they get released all the time. I've got people out there that have been missed court 5, 6, 7 times. And that means 5, 6, 7 times. These guys have to track them down and go arrest them, bring them to jail. They spend a little time in jail, They get out because we don't hold very many misdemeanor people in jail because we don't want to pay for it. We don't want to transport them somewhere else. It's not worth it. In Carroll County, if they come with a misdemeanor, a federal warrant, they get a bond. It's usually $500 or $1,000, but at least there's a bond, and there's a bondsman that tracks them down. So that'll help our community by having people have to post bonds so your deputies can stay on the street looking for people and not going out and chasing people with federal warrants. We have some people that with felonies, with small bond amounts, that can't bond, say $1,500 or something like that. After 24 hours, they're often released instead of being transported somewhere else because it's a small bond. In Carroll County, that doesn't happen. They stay there for $1,500 until they can bond. And usually they can bond after a little while. Right now, they know if they just wait 24 hours, they're going to cut me free anyway. That doesn't happen in Carroll County. That makes all of us better because those people stay in jail. That makes our community better. It's probably not helping that person. I'm taking a little view on that. I'm talking about how it helps the community and not necessarily the person that's arrested. It helps our community by that person staying in jail. We have a number of violent offenders, or offenders charged with violence, like domestic violence. A lot of times those are misdemeanors. They're beating up on their girlfriends or their wives. A lot of times those people get released before they see a judge, and the no contact orders don't have the same legal effect if they haven't seen a judge yet. Those people need to stay in jail until they see a judge, but oftentimes because of our schedules and the way we can only hold people 24 hours, they can't see a judge. Carroll County, that doesn't happen. They stay there until I see them, and I talk to them, and I hope to put the fear of God in them. They shouldn't do it again. So there's a lot of good reasons for our community that we ought to have a jail that's not really associated with fixing the person that's in the jail. It's to benefit the whole community.
We're getting to line of questions, guys. If you want to respond later, you can. But let's go ahead and get to some of these questions here. Yes, sir, right here.
My name is Marlon Bashaw, I'm 50. So I'm curious on the exact numbers that we spend now housing prisoners in other counties opposed to, or this goes along with her question too, are we going to move that money to help run this jail? Because we ain't going to be traveling no more, number one. Second question, why did we build so big? Why didn't we just build 50 beds? You would have no trouble passing a tax to get that done. As a community, we would have all came together to do 50 beds. 150 beds is too damn much. Excuse my language, sorry. That's my question. Thank you.
Go ahead, Sheriff. You got 2 minutes.
Well, like I said, 50 beds, that wouldn't even house what we had at the time. I think when we
Yeah, but
first
we could
started
have
talking.
started with that, Ronnie. You're asking for, look at your numbers on that. Is this your chart? Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but is it your chart? Look
Yes.
at the numbers on that. The numbers don't lie, Ronnie. You're at the bottom right there on other, 315,000 versus 100 and what? I can't see it from here, 33,000? That's a large gap,
That was
man.
a lot of padding.
That,
in there, too.
yeah, why do we need padding?
I want
though?
to make sure.
Why do we need padding?
Because I want to make sure it's enough.
Okay, so if we did this, are you gonna leave EMS alone? I mean,
That is-
we've been
that
taking
is-
money from EMS to do what we've done, and that, I mean, what happens when somebody has a heart attack and we can't put fuel in an ambulance?
That's my whole purpose for this, and that's why I did the budget to reduce it, so we would know, have good numbers. I was able to reduce it 1%, ask on it. We won't know for about 2 to 3 years what the operating costs are. Startup, there's gonna be additional costs for startup, because we don't have the equipment, so for furnishings and stuff. So there's gonna be some unknown there, okay? But after about 2 to 3 years, we'll have a better idea of what we need. So,
Yeah, but if you look at Madison County versus Cross County right there at the bottom, we're 2.3. Why are they 1.5? I know we're just starting, but that's a huge gap.
wait, you're saying which one?
Look at the bottom right there, 2.3 or 5. I can't see it real clear from here.
And you're talking about with Cross County.
How much time?
Well, we do have, where we're at, we have to figure in personnel costs, okay?
Okay.
So they're paying, that's what I said, it'd be an average, probably about $10,000.
But we're not much different than what they have there.
Okay. Let's let him answer. I'm going to go ahead and ask this while we're here, Ronnie, currently the county spends, so this is a question that I had. Currently, the county spends out of EMS approximately per year $700,000 to $800,000 to transport and house prisoners. Can you explain why the citizens will be better off passing a 1-cent sales tax equivalent to $2+ million for maintenance and operation? Judge, I'm going to refer to you, and then I'll let Ronnie finish it up. I think that's what Mr. Rashad was asking there, so.
Okay.
Thank you, Travis.
You bet.
The 700,000+ that is being taken from this general tax to operate or to pay for prisoner housing outside of the county. With that being done, we're only locking up, or we're only transporting the very worst of prisoners. We're letting people go daily, or they are. The positive thing about operating our own jail is the fact that we can hold people accountable. Just like Judge Ramsey said, we can put people in jail that need to be in jail.
I don't think anybody's disputing that. We just shouldn't build so big.
Well,
I mean, we could always add on as we
we
do better.
could, but here's the thing, is that, and I'm very respectful to your question, but we can't come back and ask y'all for more money to do another tax for a jail.
You're going to anyway, Larry. You're going to anyway. On my own analysis that I've done in 10 years, you're going to ask us for more anyway. I guarantee you,
Absolutely.
the jail's got a life expectancy of 20 years. We're going to use it longer than that, obviously. But what about upkeep, remodeling, changing locks out? I mean, all that takes money, and that ain't included in this 1 cent.
Yes, it is.
Okay, I want to see that then.
The operation and maintenance of the facility. You know, you have your operational costs, you also have your maintenance costs, which includes if an air unit goes out, or if locks has got to be replaced. You know, there are several things that goes along with the maintenance end of that.
Okay, Sheriff, you've got about a minute. You want to finish up with
I would
this?
just say, this is one of the essential services that a county is supposed to provide. It says it shall provide this service, of being able to lock people up.
I don't think anybody's disputing that at all.
Okay, but 50 beds, that was not gonna do it. I mean, then we'd just be in the same situation. We still have to, if we want to house more prisoners, we have to transport them out elsewhere.
Okay, then why'd you ask for 100 and build 100 and a half?
Well, so I want to say
I'm
this.
trying to interrupt you, but it's
No,
something
no,
everybody's wanting.
but I want to say this to you, Mr. Rashad. So I was on the jail committee. Mr. Weaver asked me to serve on that.
Sure.
Sheriff was just fixing to come into office. Larry Garrett hadn't taken off, I wasn't mayor yet. And I will say this, the argument that we proposed at that point in time, to be fair and equitable to this panel, the argument that we proposed, and there was only about 2 or 3 of us on that board that suggested less than 148 beds. And I think Ronnie was one of them, I was one of them. We felt like a 100-bed facility would be it. The JPs at the time voted for a 148-bed facility because at the time, Southfield, the people that's building the jail, had offered us 148 beds for the tune of about $1.7, $1.8 million to add another 48 units to it. So I want to be clear and say, this particular thing that we're doing right now is something that was inherited. It wasn't something that we created.
I'm not disputing that at all.
So, yeah.
But here's the real question to that question. So, it's not a big secret that a large portion of our county is elderly, on a fixed income, disabled. So, how do you propose to sell that to them? Because they're the ones gonna tell you no.
Well, and going back to the size of it, there's 1.7 million more, you get 48 more beds, almost 50% more capacity, okay? That seemed like a no-brainer to me, that we go ahead and do it now, we're growing, we will have that need.
It's a no-brainer if we got the money.
Okay, but it wasn't gonna cost us that much more going through and trying to get an addition. Yes, it is, 1.7 is a lot of money.
Did you say 1.7?
I think it's 1.7, $1.8 million is how much the extra.
Extra?
Extra.
And that wasn't much money to you?
No, what I'm saying is comparatively, yes, it's a lot of money, But comparatively, we had Baxter County just a couple of years before doing 50
We're not
bed.
talking, this is Madison
I
County
know,
though.
I'm trying to
We're
answer the
one of
question.
the poorest counties in the state.
Okay, all right. We're gonna have to move on. We're spending a lot, too much time on
I
this
just want to
particular
say,
question.
I just want to say it's gonna cost them about $5 million to add 50 beds. I didn't want to go through that process, didn't want to see anybody else go through that process. It'll probably, you know, I probably wouldn't be here to see that through, but if we go ahead, make it easier, and know that the growth is coming, that was my purpose on doing that.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, Lou Thompson.
Lou Thompson. This is for either Ronnie or Larry. This proposed tax, how much is it going to generate for the county? No one's really said. I mean, you know, we heard that the half cent is like 1.2, 1.3. Is that correct, or is it more or less, or?
1 cent, Lou, will generate approximately, if we use 2024 numbers, 2.5.
Okay, so how many prisoners, Ronnie, if you had to jail, you kept them 7 days a week, how many could you fill today? Is it 60, 70, 80? You keep them 7 days a week?
Well, I mean, obviously it depends. We bring our prisoners in, but we've got a lot of felony warrants out there. We've got a lot of people we'd like to see locked up longer, and I think the community would like to see them locked up a little bit longer too. But we're not even counting misdemeanors. Now, the misdemeanors will cycle through more so, but probably need about, you know, we figure about 30, at least 30 beds on a regular basis, probably, I would say, for misdemeanors. They'll cycle through, but it'll be more constant. They'll be coming through and being released and everything. So we're housing 50 around there right now.
So you're talking like 75 beds now?
Well, I'm just talking, we still have some more felons out there that we could be holding, but we have to let them go. I don't know the exact number of that, Lou, but we could get up close to that 80, 90, 100 mark relatively easy, okay, if we're counting misdemeanors in there as well.
Well, you know, here's where I have the problem myself is, you know, we passed a half-cent sales tax, which is 1.25 million. You're asking for another 1%, which is another 2.5 million. That's $3.7 million for this jail. That's over $10,000 a day, every day, 7 days a week. We put 60 or 80 people in there. You're asking us to pay $160 to $200 a prisoner a day. And if we're gonna get outside prisoners to come in here, I heard that number, we're gonna charge them $35, $40 to house other prisoners. But you want the county taxpayers to pay $150 to $200 to house their own. That's what I don't feel is fair.
I mean, obviously, there's a cost, okay? There's a cost to not doing anything as well. So if we don't do anything, we're never gonna get a handle on the problems. Everybody wants to see the problems handled, but if we don't have the resources to do it, you know, where do we go from there, Lou? You know, I think, obviously, yeah, we're trying to spend and get this jail done. That's gonna take some time, and that sales tax will drop off, okay? Not as fast as everybody would like, that's for sure. But, you know, it's not gonna be ongoing sales tax forever.
That's for the bill, that's not for the maintenance.
How long?
Projecting on it, at this time, I think, around 20, on the projection on the sunset, or is it even progressive? Retirement, the sunset on the,
Quickly after we passed the tax, within the next year, our sales tax increase, we were just at a 30-year bond. They projected it down to 25 years. Honestly, our sales tax have increased. It could be closer to 22 or 20 years. So the sales tax increases have revenue that we've seen are steadily decreasing the amount of time that the 0.5% sales tax to retire the bonds will stay on top of, I think Judge Garrett mentioned that the Quorum Court's interest that if this 1% sales tax was issued as we have excess revenues over and beyond, making sure we have a cushion for buying things like replacing an air unit, replacing a lock. You have to have some level of funds in there to face those unexpected charges. But excess funds beyond that would go towards paying off the bond to even more quickly retire those bonds and take off the sunset the 0.5% sales tax, thereby reducing the tax burden for the citizens of the county.
And going back, Austin, you brought up a really good point there, going back to Mr. Rashad's question there. By state law, we have to have a cushion by legislative audit. So to answer that, and I completely understand where you're coming from, I get it, but by law, we have to have a cushion.
Nobody's disputing the cushion. Why so much cushion?
Understood.
Do we have a cap or what's the deal here?
Understood.
We haven't seen no numbers on how much
No.
cushion they want.
Okay. All right.
We're the poorest county, and we're gonna give them a $10,000.
Okay, Lou, go ahead and answer your questions here real quick.
Hey, Wendy Russell from Houston. When the jail is up and running, what services will it be offering? Such as mental, behavioral, etc.?
Well, and typically jails, they can't really provide those services, okay? The state prisons are where you get mental health treatment, and what was the other, you asked me the?
Behavioral?
Yeah, behavioral health, yeah. But, you know, there are things we can do. You know, I'd like to see some ministries getting in there talking.
That's something I think the community would like.
Yeah, and that's the only way you're gonna change it. If you can't change somebody's heart and mind, they're never gonna reach it. And that way, if they are locked up, they have a chance to clear their head, because a lot of people, you know, they're on drugs. It takes a while for them to get off and reach that bottom.
Okay. I'm gonna go back, come back to, actually, I'm gonna go to this gentleman back here who's been waiting patiently, but I'm gonna go back. Lou's got a follow-up, I guess, to you, Austin. Yeah.
You know, Larry, you're in a bad situation, and Ronnie's in a bad situation, because I know we're a small community, and we have certain needs, and we don't have the tax bases that the bigger county has. So it puts everybody in a bad situation. But here's my biggest concern, and then I even seen this when I read the bottom of the deal that you sent. You know, you're proposing like a $2.3 million to operate the jail. In fairness to you, you don't know if that's gonna be 2.3 or 2.5 or 2.7, and that's today. And in 5 years from now, that could be $3.5 million. Because as you know, what's happened to you, Larry, even on your county officials, today, you're paying them 20% more than you did 5 years ago. Or you should be. You've had to keep them, or we've had to. And what my concern is, we're gonna open this big jail up. It costs $3.5 million to operate it, which Patty Shin shared with me the other day, that the people that sold the jail to the people said it's gonna take 2 cents sales tax to operate it. If that's the case, you're gonna break the whole county. We won't be able to get a roads done, we won't have to get on EMS, because, you know, once you open it, you gotta fund it.
The Southfield never said it'd take 2% to run that. I think that was you, Patty, that this is just, and I said no, because there's no way. I would have stopped it right there.
You were not here, and they plainly told us it would take 2 cents.
I'm saying in Quorum Court, that's where we were talking about it.
You weren't here.
Okay, well, I'm telling you, in Quorum Court, there was absolutely, I heard you say that, and I'm saying there's no way we could do that. I wouldn't even suggest that.
Could I address possibly one of the things that Lou brought up, and I respect your questions, or your statement. But, you know, one of the things that we did by hiring Southfield to build the jail, we know we can't come back later and ask for more tax. One of the things that Southfield did is they built this jail in 24-bed pods. So we can shut down part of that facility to stay within the budget of a penny. You know, what if that brings in, I mean, we all want to think that our population is going to continue to increase like it has in the past few years. Population increases, so does your sales tax revenue. If you don't believe that, go over and look at Washington County, Benton County, as to what happens over there just because of population.
Thank you, Judge. Right here. You've been waiting patiently.
Thank you. Our mayor did a great job of putting this together. My name is John Overnack, Huntsville. And I think my concern is as our community grows, does our crime naturally grow? And are we addressing the source of crime and what creates it? It's poverty, it's mental illness, it's drug addiction, and I'm not certain building a jail actually solves that. I think people need to be in jail, rapists, murderers, domestic abuse people. I've employed a lot of people who have worked in my yard, and the cops have come up and taken them away because they failed to appear for an appointment in court. They lost their job, their family, what happens to their wife, what happens to their car payment, what happens to their house payment. They're devastated. Is jail a real solution? I think we need one, but we need it for actual criminals. We have a lot of community members in the community. I think they need mental health support, and I think they need the drug support.
That's right.
It was well put, thank you. Why don't you put into perspective the people that we've housed, or what we've got housed right now, Sheriff, the 50 or so people. If I'm not mistaken, we've got some murders and things of that.
Some rapists.
Yeah, so when you talk about the felons that we've got in custody right now in other facilities, just real quickly.
Yeah, I mean, what you just kind of already said, this is violent criminals, the ones that are, pouring into drugs, ones that ended stealing other people's property. People like them to be locked up. We want them locked up, okay? I agree with you that, that's why I said we got to change their hearts and minds. How do we do that? Well, it takes everybody. It doesn't. If you think law enforcement is going to be the one that magically makes that happen to everybody, no, it takes all of us. And do I have the perfect answer for that? No. But we need to start in the schools, holding people accountable. There's more and more ways for kids to do stupid things these days with the internet and cell phones and everything else. But they're exposed to a lot more. We need to expose good ideas to them and nurture them and guide them. There's no easy answer to all of this, but it takes all of us working together to do it. Jail is not going to be the magic bullet that takes care of it all. I understand that and know that, but if we want somebody that's on drugs or alcohol problem or whatever, you gotta let them have a chance to sober up and get their mind straight before you can try to reach their heart and mind to change them.
Thank you, Sheriff. We have a question back here in the back.
We're going to get to you just in a second, Jeremy. Latina was we're trying to take these in order. She had asked, she's next in line, so give me just a second.
Can you hear me now? Yes. Okay. Bettina Cover, it's for you, Ronnie. I know this is going to circle back to Pam's question when she asked you, are you going to offer any support for your inmates for mental problems or addiction intervention? I know you keep saying that think time's set off and they need to sober up, but that's not going to cure the problem.
Well, and that's true. But truly, jails aren't designed for all those resources. That's the state prison system has more of those resources. Yeah, but I mean, we in the community here, we don't really have resources for that either. The drug treatment and stuff is readily available. If I just talked to someone from a treatment center just yesterday, and they're wanting us to contact them. Of course, it takes insurance for them to be taken by them. But they said they do a resource for us if people don't have insurance. They try to give us some suggestions of what we can do. But I'd say we have on numerous occasions. I've transported about 3 different people that are having mental problems, and the families will try to get involuntary committed and get them to some mental health treatment. I've taken about 3 or 4 down myself, and we've taken others too. But we jump through hoops to do it. We don't have a place to hold them though, and that's why it takes if we had to place a hold in the jail, it would be a lot easier for us to help do that, maybe get it to a treatment center as well. But as it starts, or as it stands right now, we got 24 hours to do something with them. They don't necessarily, the treatment centers, they got to have a bed open, and we got to jump on it whenever, it's open.
Let's say we open up this facility, so that's what we're going to offer.
Mental health, well,
Or putting them connecting them where they need to be.
yeah, we'll do whatever we can. Just as far as treatment on our end, I mean, if we try to do all that at our expense, you're going to see the cost of everything going up. We think we're asking for a lot now, but that's where it leads to. But
So if you have a program in one of the county, you be receptive to that?
yeah, I'm saying that.
So protocol, Sheriff, and I think that'll answer a couple of these questions. Protocol would be if should the jail tax pass, and we're incarcerating prisoners, and I understand what you're saying about the state level and all that. Are we going to, I don't know, ask a deputy? Are we going to, as far as protocol goes, are we going to be able to identify those that need maybe mental help, those that maybe need drug addiction help, and are you willing to facilitate those things, knowing that we can't afford to pay for it, but you'll say that you'll help facilitate those things?
We try to do what we can now, but yeah, we want to see people get help.
Okay.
I don't know what resources necessarily you're talking about in the team, but is it something you're talking about, somebody that would come in, donate their time? I mean, that's obviously, that would be something.
We have that to start.
Does the state offer grant money for programs that are instituted in the jail system for that?
I'm sure there potentially could be, and that's something we could look at.
I mean, that's the thing, you get drug abuse resistance in different programs, it could help lower the cost.
Okay, yeah, go ahead, Judge.
Steve, whenever I was down at the County Judge Association, one of the things that they talk about are some of these facilities that I think they have one in Little Rock. I think there may be one in Russell. But the problem that they have is they're always full. And, you know, where I think we need to go is we need to be talking to the state level of creating more room for these type of facilities, whether it be wherever it be. Maybe we can have one in Northwest Arkansas. But there are such facilities. It's just they're hard to get in.
Okay, thank you all. All right, go ahead, Jeremy.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
That's Jeremy, I'm not a lawyer, many of you know me. We're going to address a lot of things here. First of all, some things we don't even talk about. A lot of petty policing going on from the Sheriff's Department. Sheriff Orgy is one of them that did that to me. Sheriff's Department. I've been, because they severe people, I've been in front of Judge Ramsey on a fine that was maximum $500. He offered me $550.
Jeremy, I want to ask you this. I'm not trying to interrupt you, but do you have a question about the jail or the jail tax?
I have a comment about this jail tax.
Okay. Okay.
Please don't interrupt me.
I'm just asking you to get to the point here.
So the whole point is where is the money that you're stealing from the people, the good people that get fined from here for all this petty policing, all these warrants, all this stuff? Where's that money going? Had I not been smart enough to fight this battle, I would have been charged $550 for a $500 maximum fine. I'm not the only one. I sat there and I watched that courtroom packed with people.
Judge, you want to
all this money, where's all this money going? And we go $16.9 million, that would $1 million deficit before we even started. All these numbers are bullshit, lying to the people. How about we tell the people the truth? Where's the money at? How much did we spend? What are we taking in? Where's it going? Why are our property taxes so high? What are we getting for our property taxes?
Now, panel, I'm going to explain to you all, there's a lot of questions in that, and there's not really anything specific regarding the jail tax. So I'm going to ask Judge Ramsey, I've asked him to address this situation with Mr. Updegraff.
Mr. Updegraff, the only thing I can address is what happens in district court, in Madison County District Court, where you appeared on that ticket. About half the money we collect goes to Little Rock. Pursuant to state statute, it goes to Little Rock to run the court system. And so about half of what we collect goes there. And the other half, which is the fine money, any tickets written in the city, the fine money goes to the city, to their general fund or whatever, it goes to the city. And if it's a county ticket, the fine money collected for that money go to the county, and Austin would have to tell you exactly where they get split for the sheriff.
Great, use that to pay for this jail.
Pardon me?
Use that money to pay for this jail.
That's beyond what I can help.
I understand, absolutely. These guys.
Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you. Okay, give me just a second, one right before you.
I'm just going to quickly jump in and just, Mr. Underground, I can tell you that the fine money we received from district court, which is larger than circuit court simply because of the misdemeanor nature of the crimes in district court, we received about $296,000 last year from district court fines, which goes to the county general fund. But that fine money is not obviously enough to sustain the jail.
Are we telling the people any of this?
It is
We want more money, but we're not telling them where the money's going. The extra taxes, the extra stuff.
Mr. Boatright just did, correct?
I did.
Thank you. All right, go
It
ahead.
just did now, because I called it out.
Hi, I'm Maria McSpirit, I'm from Huntsville, Arkansas.
Get a little more into that, Maria.
Okay, I'm from Huntsville, Arkansas, and I came here to talk to you guys about the jail taxes, so I'd like to bring it back to that. My question right now is how many per people do we have outsourced to other facilities? What is that costing us? And has that money been budgeted back into factoring the cost for the sales tax?
Well, if you're talking about the money we're getting from like, general fund, EMS tax, common call, that money, we're trying to get back to EMS, okay? That, I think we took, what, $762,000 for EMS?
When you factor in the entirety of our prisoner housing operations, not just outside.
Over about 1.1, or are you talking about admin with the dispatcher, jailer? It's over $1 million on that part.
Yes, when you add. I'll try to explain briefly. So what Mr. Boyd is referring to, we have multiple funds in the county. Currently, 911, which is dispatch, is housing the salaries for actually holding the prisoners in our 24-hour holding facility. We budget $572,000 for housing prisoners outside the county. But then it's been increasing over time because our E911 tariff money has been decreasing. So now there's an additional over $200,000 that is also being used to keep dispatch able to function. So in total, it is over $700,000 that we are currently having to use to not only house our prisoners in county and outside of the county, but make sure that our dispatch jailers can function in their capacity and keep the county in a safe fashion, not only holding prisoners, but dispatching ambulances, fire, rescue, and so on.
Thank you.
That answer for it? I mean,
Sort of, it sort of muddied it up for me. My question more specifically was, how many people do we have outsourced to another facility? And what is that costing us? And is that specific fund going to come back into this jail fund? And has that been factored into this budget?
well, it's still paid by the EMS funds, but I think last year was $400,000, just prisoner housing fees.
It's about $403,000 for outside prisoner housing that was expended.
And that will go back to EMS.
So that money would be going back to EMS and not coming to this jail money?
Yes, that's, yeah.
Okay, that was my main question. Where was that money going back?
Thank you, Maria. All right, up next, here we go.
I'd like to turn on myself. I've got a couple of questions, really. How many local civilian jobs will this facility create to help the income for the citizens here of the city itself? And also, we have homeless people. They sneak around, they find cars to stay in that they really need shelter at night. If you have some beds, will you open them up to those who need them? Thank you.
Thank you, Gladys. Did you all hear that question?
Yeah, as far as personnel, I'm thinking minimum 16 starting out, 16 to 20. 21 would be the top number at, say, operating around 100 beds. That's what I'm thinking at this point. As far as new jobs, is that Is that what you wanted to hear?
Is that all you
Well,
need?
not deputies, but
You say
people
civil-
who might
you
provide
said civilian?
food,
Okay.
things that are necessary.
Commissary.
Well,
Yeah.
what we're looking at there is, we're gonna be trying to get inmates to do that, so where we don't have to hire that out and reduce, costs there as well. As far as homeless people, that, I'm not sure, that would probably be a good liability, for us that I don't know that we would want to undertake on that. So, I don't think that's probably an option.
Okay. Chief, I'm going to interject here and ask you a question, since you're up here and under the guise of law enforcement in the city. How does not having a jail affect policies or policing in the city, and how does it affect our residents?
Great answer, or great question, I hope I got the answer. To put it blunt, we can't do our job. We arrest people constantly, and we just give them a citation, let them walk out the door knowing that they're not gonna come back. We had a lady that had a $25,000 warrant, a bond, for 7 failure to appears on no insurance and no registration. She was involved in a car accident, and she was issued these citations. She had been picked up 7 times. 7 times she did not go to court, and we physically couldn't arrest her because we had no jail with her. In 2022, when we were talking about taxes, we had $207,000 worth of outstanding fines, warrants, and such in our district court, and now we have, 2 years later, we have $942,791.40, so almost $1 million. That has escalated in 2 years. The county has got $3.3 million, and so we can't enforce laws. We can write the citations if you choose not to go to court. Don't go to court. You won't go to jail because you don't have to jail. If your house gets broken into and we catch the guy and we're lucky enough to do that, he's going to be out within 24 hours unless he violently attacks you. That's what's going on. I can't put it any clearer than that. It's just what it is, guys. It's like asking a fire department to be a fire department and you don't give them any water. I mean, that's kind of where we're at right now. Nobody likes taxes. I hate taxes. We're taxed to death. I get it. I'm in the boat with you guys. I don't think anybody in here is anti-jail. I think most everybody here thinks that we do need jail. I don't know how you can be a rational human being and not realize that consequences are out there and that we have to face consequences for our mistakes. But I'm getting the dirty look over here. But I wish there was a better way, and collectively, we all do. Wish there was a better way than to ask for money. I know my parents are on fixed income. We got good close family members that's in that same boat that struggle. We're talking about $1 out of $100 that you spend at Walmart or wherever you spend it. That's what we're asking for. And we wish we wasn't. We don't want to come up. You think we enjoy coming up and asking for your money? No, we don't. We're just like the rest of you guys, and we wish there was another way. And if there is another way, somebody show us.
Chief, thank you for that. Someone that had a follow-up back here. Is the Huntsville Police going to take their inmates there? Yes, I'll answer that. And then I'll actually answer this next question for you too. If so, is the city going to help pay? So, just so you understand, and the sheriff might be able to elaborate more than I can on this because I'm not a law enforcement agent, but the thing that I will say is about 18 months ago, I think before we even broke ground, Judge Garrett and I had sat down. He and I fussed and fought and griped and argued and wrestled around. And so we have a comprehensive contract, should the jail tax pass and they open the jail for the city. We have a comprehensive contract that our Act 988 money that's collected over here by Judge Ramsey or his court for prisoner housing, it has to be specifically spent on prisoner housing, okay? We're going to turn back to the sheriff's department or the jail 90% of those funds. Now, we have not inked that contract as of yet. Judge Garrett, we didn't want to ink the contract until the jail opens because we've got a 5-year limitation on that, and then we'll revisit it in 5 years, obviously. So yes, we have thought about that. We had the foresight to think about that about 2 years ago. So anything that we get here, and I'll say it this way, and this is just kind of my opinion, the county tax is our tax. You're going to pay the majority of that tax in Huntsville, being the largest city in Madison County, right? I'll be happy to say that Sheriff Boyd, whenever he mixed in with the conversation, he had the exact same thought that we did. And he actually found the Arkansas state statute that dictates once we take a prisoner to them, being a city prisoner, it becomes their property at that point in time. They have to do this. So our prisoners are their prisoners. Now, we want to give them everything that we possibly can, because we're trying to get this thing off the ground, and I'm a chief on that. Nobody likes taxes, I get it. So anything that we can throw at this, we'll certainly try to help. Hopefully that answered your question. So, yes. Sorry, I forgot about you, I'm sorry.
About 3 times. My name is Jeff Chambers from Huntsville. I just had a question. Have we looked at any federal funding for the jail? I've heard of state funding, but any federal funding?
Typically, right now, in the past, I think we had some funding to get jails built. That's not an option. Jails are not the thing anymore. Federal government doesn't want to be a part of it. So as far as building it and the operation of it, there's not really any extra federal money there. You can't really budget what you hope to get either. So, if you're budgeting on what you may get from a grant, you're going to lose the proposition, I think, there, because generally there's strings tied if you get it at all. So, we're trying to budget for what we know we need, and we need to have a steady source of revenue for it. And sales tax, it can fluctuate. That's why I think I want to be operating it below what my projected 2.3 is. I put some padding in there just to be on the safe side, but I think we can operate initially the first 2-3 years for sure under what we're doing there. To what point, I don't know just yet, but I think we won't be at max personnel the first 2 or 3 years. But if we do, then we'll know after a year, 2 years, we'll have a pretty good idea of where we're at, where we need to be.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name is Eric Westwell from Easton. My first question is, how much does the special election cost?
We haven't had a special election specifically in quite a few years that isn't associated with like a school board election or with a primary general election. So it's difficult to give an exact number, but my estimate would be around $30,000.
So this election is going to cost about $30,000?
Yes. Well, I'll just use, for instance, it costs $24,000 in '23 to run solely a school board election where one zone was up and we only opened up 2 vote centers that were in that zone at the time. So, and that was $24,000. So we'll open up all 5 vote centers this time.
My next question is, have you ever thought about taking a certain percentage out of the school's budget and put it back in the county? I like several different states, and you know what the percentage they give to the schools? 40%. You know what they give here? 80%.
I am well aware of exactly.
And they have nicer schools.
Yes.
And everything is nicer.
And that is one thing that I'm glad you brought up, because it is a fact that 80% of our property taxes go to the schools. So we get, although our county tax collector is taking that money in, we are distributing the vast majority of the schools and then another portion to the municipalities. So the county actually sees a relatively small part of those property taxes. But to answer your question why we can't take more, that is the state mandate. We, as a county, are maxed out on the property tax that we can charge individuals outside of a special capital improvement project or something like that. And those would be a short-term property tax. So we by state statute and state constitution cannot change those variables.
So the state is mandated to 80% for the state?
It can actually be more. But we're on the
No,
lower
what I'm
end.
asking you, is it mandated at 80%?
Not
Or
a
can you
percentage.
change it to 40?
No.
Or 50?
We can't change it. I'll say this, the schools
What is the
have
state
to have a minimum, millage rate of 25. That's the minimum school millage rate. Now, ours has more. In fact, all of the school districts that we distribute to in the county have a higher millage rate than that. So for instance, the Huntsville School District is 36 mills. So they can change. They can go up or down on that, which would, by definition, change the percentage you're talking about. But we can't change that. Only the school district can change that. Because as I mentioned, our millage rate is capped out outside of very specific. You can increase the library millage by another 4 mills. You can have a hospital tax, so that's a millage. But outside of very special case scenarios, the county is maxed out, and we cannot change that percentage ourselves.
What I'm saying is, if you look at the school system, I know A.T. Smith has donated money to the school. I know other people have. You know, they have money coming in. Can you not pull a certain percentage from that and put it for this jail?
No, you cannot. It's only, I'll finish with this. Any change in the school millage is up to the school district and the voters, not the county.
Well, then put it up for a vote.
That's also,
change it.
that would be.
If it's going to cost everybody here to have to raise taxes, let's vote to change it. You just said the special elections cost us 30 grand. Why don't we put that on the budget, or on the vote?
I'll reiterate, that is up to the school board, not the county.
I think it's up to the people, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's up to the people.
The school board would put it on the ballot, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's got to be nominated though.
So the people would have to go speak to the school board to get it on the ballot.
And that can happen.
That's a good question. All right, Dina, you're next.
I'm Dina Jennings. I live in Huntsville, and I just have comments, not so much, I have a question, but not a big one on the tax. I just feel like we, the voters, not these guys, not anybody else, voted to have the jail. And I feel like we need to vote to operate and maintain that jail, because it's there. We voted, we said we wanted it, just like we say we want a school, we have to operate and maintain that school. And I think Huntsville needs to have our officers back, not transporting people back and forth. I think we need to have a place. I taught in school, and more than twice or 3 times, kids told me, well, we moved to Madison County, but you don't have a jail. That's what my mom and dad said. And I mean, I don't know that that's a general feeling, but I think that exists. And I think what Todd said is correct, that people feel like they get arrested, they get out of jail. And so basically, I'm just saying, we are the ones, the voters, who said we want this jail this size. That's what we said. And now we're going to take it. No, we didn't.
No, we didn't.
No, we didn't.
It was on the ballot.
We voted for the 100-bed jail, not 148.
Well, that's what was on there. That was the proposal. Anyway, my only question is, I know there's an open house at the jail. Is it this weekend? And what time?
Open house is Saturday from 11 to 1.
Thank you.
Is it gonna all be open?
Yeah, hey, Janice brought up a really good point. Say that again, Janice.
If the voters got the school board, or the citizens got the school board to change the millage, and they did lower it, that would not give the county any more money. That would only reduce, your property tax. That would reduce what the school gets. That would reduce the percentage that goes to the municipalities in the amount that goes to the county. It would not give the county any more money for the jail. It's a property tax. The sales tax is the only way that you can give the money to the jail.
Thank you.
That is correct. Yes, the county would not receive any more money through the village to try to take it back to this gentleman's point. I think he was saying it would be more incentive to pass the sales tax with a lower property tax rate, but you are correct. The county, regardless, would not receive any more money from the village. And outside of those special case scenarios I mentioned, we cannot do a higher millage, ergo receive any more money outside of a property valuation change or a improvement in properties or building new properties.
All right, my name is Matt Mulder from Huntsville. My question is for you, Sheriff Boyd. It's in regard to staffing issues that you mentioned earlier that the Sheriff's Office has been had trouble with for several years now. I'm just worried about how this may affect the future jail operations. Specifically, I'm worried about the possibility of having a jail that's understaffed if we pass this tax, which could directly lead to safety issues inside the facility. between inmates or inmate and staff confrontations. So what would happen if we pass the jail tax, cannot hire the staff necessary to run the facility? Is there a minimum number that is required by law? And if we cannot meet that minimum, will the jail open and will the tax still go through if we pass it, staff it?
Well, I feel confident we can staff it. I've had a lot of interest in it. People in law enforcement already currently working in jails. I think it's going to be a good opportunity for those getting out of high school. Obviously, they've got to be responsible. It's a big responsibility to watch over these prisoners, make sure you're doing everything right, make sure you're not lashing out, trying to get you a pound of flesh whenever they try to tick you off, because they do. The prisoners try to do that. So it's a big responsibility, but I think it'd be a good paying job for the younger generation. And I think, and we're looking at minimum. I would say to take care of 50 prisoners, 50 to we'll say right around 50. I'd say a minimum of about 12 jailers is what we would need. But I mean, it's always a concern. But I think what you'll see is we have been short-handed at the sheriff's office, and by design, we just didn't hire anybody. We wanted to wait around. We are fully staffed now. We're getting people coming to us. They see what we're about, and that we're trying to do the right thing. And so we're getting a lot more response, and I think we will get staffed. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. Nothing in this job has been easy, I'll tell you that. So I'm game to try.
Thank you, sir. Okay. I'm going to let Austin say something, because we were talking about this millage decrease. And I think it's important that Austin brings that up. Go ahead, Austin.
Sorry to come back to this again, I'll be brief. I just wanted to mention, to your point, the school can decrease the millage, but at this time, the school does have a bond for the recently built sports arena. So until that bond's paid off, by law, it cannot be decreased. So that would be something to consider in the future, but I just wanted to note that at this time, the bond for the school can't be decreased until that bond is paid off, because it is legally obligated in a similar fashion to our 0.5% sales tax is now obligated for the jail.
All right, thank you, Austin. Brandon, you've got a question. Go ahead.
My name's Brandy. I live in Aurora. I have a couple questions. The first one is, so what happens if the tax doesn't pass? What happens to the jail? And the second is, are we concerned that us being one of the highest sales tax in the state is going to turn businesses off from moving here? This is not to say I'm anti-tax, I'm just curious.
Okay, your first part of your question was what happens if sales tax does not pass? Sheriff Boyd and I actually had that conversation day before yesterday. And, there's a lot of things that this sales tax affects, like we discussed earlier, as far as EMS, and a lot of the things that go on in the county, and how we want to try to expand the county. But if it doesn't pass, those can happen, and we will have to continue to be able to use this, we keep calling it EMS money, or this general tax. We'll have to continue to use that to be able to house prisoners out of the county, just like we're doing now.
So the jail won't open if it doesn't pass?
That's correct.
And the sheriff's office won't move out there, and 911 won't move out there, and none of those things will happen?
That's correct.
Cool.
All right, go ahead.
Randy, did you have a second part of your?
Yeah, the second part of my question, was, are we concerned that if we're going to become, if this passes, one of the highest sales tax in the state, if it's going to affect businesses that want to move here?
I think, I guess that could be looked at both ways. I think a lot of the businesses that might want to move to Madison County want to see a safe county. They want to see that we have the ability to lock people up that break the law. I think that's important. Now, do I think the higher sales tax may cause them not to move here?
Of course.
I have no idea. I know you say, of course, it could affect some, but I think for the most part, companies that want to come to Madison County and operate are not coming here because we have a lower sales tax.
Okay.
First, I want to give a brief statement. One thing that I really think our town needs is an economic development director. That would relieve the burden of a lot of these people if we can do that. Are you that? I have never heard. I can ask you that you're off.
I'm sorry. Brandy is our economic development director.
She hired her this morning, didn't you?
Hired her especially for that.
Maybe we should meet her here.
Yeah, I think so.
Well, it would certainly relieve a lot of our tax pressure if we had more business in this town.
And I
We
can
all
say
agree
that,
with that.
I can say within our strategic planning and city that we did last year, that is one of our goals, is what we are working on. With that said, we know some of our challenges that we have to get businesses here too, especially in the end, right? We've got to have places for people to live, in order to build a workforce, to attract businesses.
I've seen a
here.
lot of
So
houses go up.
we're going back and forth on that, and that's what we're working on. We're trying to increase our residential housing, and we're trying to attract businesses that work together with businesses we currently have here.
Secondly, I just want to say, I do think we need a jail. I've always thought that. I think the biggest thing, not only with me, but everybody in here, if we're going to give our hard-earned money, it needs to be spent wisely. And that's one thing that I think we've had a problem doing. I just do. Giving raises inappropriately and other things where you need Elon Musk sometimes. I really think so. I just think that when we get a budget like this that's not detailed out, and it says we have 21 jailers there, and you just said 12.
That's a minimum.
Whatever. But I think we want a breakdown of what it is. We'd like to see something detailed. This is very general. And so if we had something to know, where all that is. And the part two of my question is, how in the world are you going to get 12, 15, 21 jailers when you can't hardly keep the sheriff's office down?
Good question.
Go ahead, Sheriff.
Well, we are fully staffed right now, and like I said,
But it was a longer it's been
well,
so
and that's because we were also because we were waiting to get the right people as well. So that had some influence on it. We weren't just going to hire anybody and everybody. We had plenty of people
We
that.
had a lot of people in and out.
Yeah. Well, and we're working on getting people that are accustomed to how we want to operate. I think we've got a good environment. We're getting rid of all the negativity. We're building something positive. Okay. As far as this right here, there's some flexibility. Whenever I said minimum 12 people, that'd be to house like 50 prisoners. Just basically what we have right now to cover that. 16, I think 16 personnel jailers would cover up to 7,500. I would like to see it maybe more than that. Obviously, the more jailers have, the safer it's going to be for everybody. But we have some flexibility in there. And I had some extra padding in here. I put $150,000 overtime in there on personnel in this budget here.
I think that's why you need to have it itemized.
Well,
People
So we can see it.
But that's we won't know
We
for
don't
about
care
2
what
to
they
3
do
years.
in
We won't know
Cross.
about until 2 to 3 years. I want to make sure that I had it covered, and then I felt like we could back off of it. But we don't know what the sales tax is going to bring next year. It could drop 2.3.
I understand what you're saying, but what I'm saying is when you see this generalization like that, and, you know, you're kind of back and forth on different things they say. We feel like as taxpayers, our money is just kind of being spent willy-nilly because there's not a set, anything where we can understand. You see what I'm saying? Like, I'm a numbers person.
Nor can
I
it
want
be
to
seen
know.
on these meetings.
But I don't understand, where is your worksheet to get here? That's what these people would like to see.
Yes.
Why will our average employee
I
be
mean,
making
I got my chicken
$11,000 more?
scratch here and everything else, you know, I put it together and I put, that's not all of it. But there's other pages too, but, yeah, I looked at the different counties. These are Southfield jails I looked at. There are counties that are in a similar economic situation as us. Counties that have similar populations as us. Scott County is what I chose to compare the most with. It has 144 beds, 43 beds. But I knew our personnel costs are going to be more because we're over here competing against Benton and Washington County agencies, and that's driving our pay up where we have to pay more.
But what I'm saying is.
But it don't show what you're paying.
What do you pay one of your deputies?
Right.
Like, what
Yeah.
is the difference in all that? We have no idea what you're talking about paying children.
Okay, well.
You just threw numbers down.
Just quick, like, have you been interviewing people and all that yet?
Interviewing for.
Interviewing people to be jailed.
Well, no, we don't have any funding to do it. So I can't promise a job, you know, 6 years, or 6 months down the road here, or what, if that even.
So we're not gonna move into the jail at all, not y'all, not anybody, till it's ready to run, is that correct?
Well, we got to know we have funding to operate.
Well, I
So-
understand that, but until then, nobody's gonna be moving in, turning all the lights on, or doing all of those things.
Well,
too.
I think we need to be in there, and, you know, I don't know if
The
we
judge
get
just
the
said
sheriff's
they would.
office in there or not. I don't know, it's up in the air at this point, but once.
That's what nobody understands, and that's what she's asking.
If we're struggling for funds.
Over and over we've asked.
Fair Commissioner, we'll go to Weston County, go in there, so we may go.
Well,
He
I
just
think
said we
there's a chance
wouldn't
that we
go.
could get the sheriff's office and dispatch, maybe. It just depends on how much.
He just
money
said we
have.
wouldn't.
Well, I heard that.
Okay.
But,
Okay.
I'm saying there could be a chance, maybe not. I don't know.
Who's the boss?
All right,
So,
all right. Thank you, Sheriff. You got a question? Am I skipping anybody? Oh, Lord, let me go back. I forgot. Listen, I try to be as fair as I can, and I forgot your sister. I'm sorry. Here. Okay, you can get up and speak then.
So, do what?
They can't hear you online unless you use the
Oh,
microphone.
that's unfortunate. So I pretty much just want to reiterate what everybody else has already asked. And what is your plan for recidivism rates? There's tons you could do that's not going to cost you money that will benefit this community. I think that community members would be a lot more willing to put into this tax if they knew that it absolutely was going to benefit. You could take trustees out, let them go mow lawns. You could move the pet shelter up there, let the trustees take care of the dogs. Move animal control up there. Why don't we already have a plan for what this jail could potentially do for this community?
because we've got to operate it first
But
and get a
that's-
hold of that. We can't start
That's
adding
progress.
to what we don't have.
I know,
And
but
that-
you're asking us for our money and you're
You
not
just-
telling us how this is gonna help other than
Okay.
housing criminals. So I grew up in the sheriff's department when it had a jail, and I watched the same faces walk in and out that door constantly, and it's still that way. So putting them in jail for 3 months to 6 months to a year, I've watched them go to prison for years and come back and do the same stuff. So how are you gonna lower the recidivism rates for the community? What's your plan for that?
Well, like I said, I want to have ministries in there. I want other people that want to come in and counsel. You know, I've talked to some people that have
But why
addiction
was
problems.
that not something you thought about when you asked us for our money to show, look, this is what we're gonna do to make this community better on top of putting away people and being able to do that? I mean, my mom worked at the jail for 5+ years. I know how it runs. I
I literally grew up there. Many of your current employees can attest to that. I know how the system
Well,
works
I
here.
haven't talked-
And your officers can only do so much. They can.
I understand that.
So why aren't you making it a point to bring in programs and proving to people that you are wanting to better this community besides being a Motel 6 for our local hangouts?
Well, I can't bring any programs in because we don't have a jail to hold.
I know, but.
So.
But you're gonna move it anyway. Correct?
I have been talking about this, that's stuff I want to do.
But there are
We have
things
to,
here-
if we're talking about, well, if we're
Sorry,
talking about,
that's my bad.
you know, trash pickup and doing stuff like that, making the inmates do that, we've got to have extra personnel to do that. Right now, we're trying to get it established to operate the jails. Then we can expand on what else we can do.
But we did
these
it with the
programs.
small jail.
Okay.
We had trustees going out. We had a trustee supervisor with a community service guy. Alex Keck, he was who did community service, and he'd take the trustees out and let them go pick up the trash at the parks. We did it with the little jail. So it should be feasible to think about that before the jail's even built and prove to us that we're gonna do better than just.
I can't just promise you that, yes, we're gonna do this. and
Not
this,
promise, but show
but
that you're
that's
putting it
what
into it.
I have. For 3 years, I've been talking about this, that yes, let's see what we can do. I want to do stuff, but we've got to be able to reach people. I understand that. And it's not just lock them up and just push them aside. Okay, I want more than that too. So, I mean, I don't know what
We
I
don't
can answer
see
to.
it.
Yeah, that's a big thing.
What?
We don't see it.
There's no way for him to
I mean,
do it if
you're gonna have the staff, one person can take 4 inmates out to go pick up trash on the side of the road. Washington County does it with a lot more than that, and just a couple guards.
They've got a lot more personnel than we have too.
He's
We're
saying
talking
without the jail, we only have a
minimum.
24 hours.
No, I know, and I'm talking about when the jail is, because I'm not against the jail. I'm very pro law enforcement, I know we desperately need this jail, but we had a jail before, and all it did was let them hang out for the weekend, get free meals, and they were right back out. And that's what this jail's gonna do too. If we don't have a plan, a hardcore plan, giving them AA, giving them NA, giving them those options, and if you can't do it inside, give them those options once they leave.
Okay. Well, I'm open to all that.
Hi, my name is Crystal Lacey. I represent Ward 1 on City Council. And this may speak to everyone else's point. I've had a few people ask me, would you consider hiring an jail administrator with expertise or maybe experience to run day-to-day that may be able to bring in some experience with those programs and such?
Thank you. Go ahead, Sheriff.
Well, currently, we have a jail administrator.
Oh, we have one?
I think she's done an extraordinary job, doing everything she does. I mean, she's managing dispatch, she's taking care of the jail, make sure, that we're getting, records, getting revenue coming back to us from the state prisoners and everything. She's keeping up with it all, maintaining that. She's doing just a jail administrator job. I think she's going to do exceptionally well. People have respect her. She's earned the respect. She's done the job. So.
Is she here tonight? Lola?
I thought she was going to be.
So is she the jail administrator or dispatch administrator?
Well, she's doing double duty.
Aren't they
She
two
did a lot of
different
double
jobs?
duty at the sheriff's office, but she is handling dispatch too, supervising dispatch. But
She gets 2 separate state paychecks?
No.
Or is that just 2 hats she wears?
2 hats.
We're good at that.
Yeah.
Yep, we have a lot
Okay.
of hats.
Good, all right. Well, you got another question?
With this being such a controversial issue, why on the salaries would we be offering additional $11,000 or close to $10? I'm guessing that's for an hour, when that doesn't match up with our county's employment growth. You have a lot of people that work in the county, and they're not gonna see an additional $10 an hour. They're not gonna see an additional $11,000. So why is this budget above what the averages are?
Well, that's how it's doing across county. Their average salary was hitting around 29, 30,000. I think we can do better than that. So that's why I said it's going to be around 40 on average pay. That's just where they're at economically.
it's the lower cost of living for them there. Our cost is increasing here. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, if we want to hire people, we got to have something. They're competitive pay. We're still not competitive in Washington County, but we need to be.
But we're not Washington County.
I understand that totally. We're not competitive. We're not.
But you keep comparing us to them.
No.
We're not them.
We are in the Northwest Arkansas metropolitan.
Only when they need numbers.
Well, I'm sorry, but we've got plenty of people working in law enforcement over there in Washington County too. So it does matter. I'm not saying that we compete with them. We can't. There's no absolutely no way we can compete with them.
We have to start somewhere. If we get 100 homes built in Madison County, that's gonna bring in revenue and it's gonna help the situation. But if you bring in 100 homes, let's say an average of 4 people a home, you now have 400 people who are looking for jobs. They're gonna go to Washington County, they're gonna go to Benton County, they're gonna go where there's growth and job opportunity. That's gonna take away money from our county. They're gonna spend money in another county.
Brandon, you want to take that real quick? For the city anyway. I don't know about the county, but for the city.
Yeah, well, our county rate for unemployment, I hope you know, is very low. Lawrence County, we're at 3.6. So basically, everybody in Madison County who is capable of working is working. So that's one of the reasons that we're trying to address bringing in more housing, to bring the workforce and bring people here. Actually, though, in the city, where we found in the census in 2020, we averaged only 2.3 people in a household in Huntsville. So we're not quite at 4. We'd like to be at 4, but not quite. So making in more homes does bring in more people, and that does equal more sales tax revenue, because they do spend money. Even if someone has a job and they're in Washington County, if they're living in Madison County, they're still spending a good portion of their income here in county.
And I will add to that in the fact that if we have a 113-acre facility out on 23, and they brought it before the planning commission. I don't really know where we're at with that, but they're looking at putting in a bunch more homes out here. People want to be in this area, and they're taking jobs at New Common, or they're taking office jobs at Butterball. And so they want to live in this community, they want to be here. So anyway, to that point. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Tina, and I'm from the Kingston area. First of all, I have a couple questions. So first of all, Donna Lewis Bond wanted to meet you and ask this question. Has anyone called the governor to see if she can help to find a way for tax money to keep the jail up and running instead of taxes in the city taxes?
Okay.
I contacted our state senator back before I took office and see if there was help available. He checked on it, there wasn't. I mean, that's back when we had a $1.5 billion surplus. So I've been checking on it. I checked on grants, I checked on everything else. I checked on regional jails. You know, I checked on everything. And, you know, this is what we came up with. The sales tax is what it's going to take. Everybody kept saying there was other things, but nobody ever produced any other options for us. So that's where we're at.
And Sheriff, I'm not interrupting, but you've got your state representative back here who deals with the governor on a daily, so I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Eaton.
Hey, Sheriff, just going in a flush here. I really think this is a Madison County problem. We talked earlier about, or there was comments, I think the judge answered about one county, the state had taken it over and running it as a state jail. I don't think they thought that was a good plan here. So I don't think there's going to be any state money for it. It's going to be our county has to fix this.
Thank you, Mr. Eaton. And I will add to Mr. Eaton's point there is no state money right now to help fund the jail.
That's correct.
However, after the jail is built and after it's in operation and we show good faith, there is grant money out there to help us with some of these things. Some of the programs that we're talking about here, there is money out there to help with that. All right, what's your next question?
For my questions, first of all, tonight, if we generate alternative ideas for funding the jail, will they be considered for implementation prior to the upcoming election? Or will the election proceed as scheduled based on the current proposal? Meaning, all of these things that everybody's saying, yes, we can do that, yes, we'll agree to that. But is that going to change anything on the ballot, or is it going just like it is no matter what?
Go ahead, Austin.
The ballot cannot be amended. What is on the ballot has been approved by the Forum Court. We passed the deadline for approving the ballot with the state, so the ballot language is set for May 13th. There will be no change or amendments, so any changes in funding would just have to be a consideration for future budget appropriations, but not on the actual ballot language being presented to the citizens.
Now, should the tax measure fail, I think your question is, are you going to listen if it fails? Are you going to listen, form a committee? I mean, what's the game plan there? To look at alternative plans for opening this thing up?
I can't answer that on my own. That would be up to the Forum Court, but I'm absolutely certain they'd be willing to listen to the citizens of the area to take in their input and adjust accordingly on any future proposals.
Okay, all right. One last question here, and then I've got one more question, then we're going to go into closing statements here.
Okay, so I know for a fact that if I've done research into this, if we move the sheriff's department into the jail, as well as the court, we can impose extra fees for the court, for the criminals paying for the jail. They're the ones using it, I don't care. Come up with an extra fee for them to pay for it. There's already, I know for a fact on time payments, if you make monthly payments, you have to pay an extra $10 a month or something. I'm not sure what that's for, but why can't we put extra money for them to pay for that?
Judge, you want to take that one? She's suggesting that to help offset the cost of the jail, or help to pay for the jail, can we impose more fines on the person at court that you incarcerate? Can you do that?
Currently, we have a fee that's added to every ticket. That's $20 that goes to the city and $20 that goes to the county for jail funding. And so there's already $20 in every city ticket, $20 in every county ticket. In fact, in the county, there's $40. Part of it's city and part of it's county. They just don't. And so there's already a pretty hefty amount that comes out of the ticket to fund the jail.
So it's too hefty for the criminals and not too hefty for us. It's too hefty for us, too.
Well, those amounts are under Arkansas state law and they've been passed by the city and the county, so that's the reason we put them out there. If we wanted to increase the fines, those fines would go into the general revenue. About half of the money would go to the general revenue of the county and half of it would go to the general revenue of the state. That would generate some money, but it's not going to generate that much money. But it could generate more money if we increase the tax. I got nothing to do with sales tax.
It can offset the cost of this, but Judge, tell me, to just specify this question a little more. That would have to be something that the city would have to pass via city council, and the Quorum Court would have to pass to increase fines across the board?
No, that'd be something I have to do. I set the fines. And we already set maximum fines on things like speeding 30 over. Fines are already $500 plus costs. We already have very high fines in Madison County. Where's Mr. Uppergrad? We already have very high fines. If we want to make it even higher, we can. Right now, people have trouble paying fines. They do. That's the reason we have time payment plans. We add a $10 fee on every month to be able to time payment because that's what Arkansas law provides. That's not something the cities, the counties, the courts do. That's what they've done in Little Rock. And again, about half the money we collect goes to Little Rock to fund the court systems under Arkansas law. So yes, I could increase the fines. Right now, our court collects almost $1 million a year in fines. The Madison County District Court collects almost $1 million. If you want to make it $1.2 million, I could probably do that if I really wanted to. I don't know that I could collect it, but I could assess those fines. I could probably squeeze another $200,000 out of folks that go 101 miles an hour on the highway where they beat their wives. I might be able to do that. I might not. But there's not that much extra more that I can do there to, when we're talking a $2 million bond issue, I don't think that I can come up with another $100,000 to $200,000, even if I maxed out all the fines to the maximum permissible under Arkansas law. And again, we probably the only court in Arkansas that does that.
Thank you, Judge.
I would say there is.
Okay, we're gonna have to move on. What's your next question? Quickly.
Okay, quickly. The fines that you do not collect from people and instead allow them to sit out in jail for, how much money was that last year? If you did not collect, like from me, I offer to pay you $350 the next day, because I'll just let you sit 6 days in jail for it. For a failure to drive or for driving on a suspended license. So you can put me in jail for 6 days for not paying my fines. But not this felony that you say you can't find jail for. But you found it for me.
Now, this isn't an issue for the judge. No. It's not an issue. Okay, yeah, go ahead, Judge.
I probably write off $30,000 that way every year. But what it does, by putting people in jail and won't pay or won't follow court orders, I collect for them. So the net, I believe, is actually a net positive to our court by making some people go to jail and don't follow court orders. That must have been what happened to you. I don't know exactly. I answered your question. If you want to debate it, I'm in court all the time. You come see me.
Thank you, Judge. All right, last question of the night. You have one question, right?
My name is Larry Barnes from the Huntsville area, and my question is, how much total is the sheriff's office budget this year?
Just the sheriff's office?
Yeah, everything the sheriff's office spends this year, before, not counting the new jail, what is that budget?
Well, the current jail is within the sheriff's office. It's within.
I'm talking sheriff's office, deputies, sheriff's office, everybody.
So not dispatch.
Everything.
Everything,
Well, that's what I'm asking. Those are separate funds.
But
Can you
they're
add
in
them
the same
together?
building.
Not off the top of my head, no.
Well, I heard $700,000 earlier.
Well, that's just for prisoner housing purposes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when you consider the sheriff's office, that's Ronnie, his deputies, buying vehicles, outfitting the vehicles, buying new equipment, fueling the vehicles, and the whole shebang for that. And then the jail's completely separate within county general, but then also has a separate county special.
So what did we spend on the jail
last year? Over $1 million.
Okay. So
That's
my
constant.
question is, why would our county judge say that, you know, if the tax is not passed, then the jail's not going to open, the new jail's not going to open? Me personally, I feel like that was just a strong arm attempt to make people vote for the tax the way he wants it to
go. You have to consider, and everybody has to consider that, as Sheriff Boyd, myself, Judge Garrett, all said today, anytime, once we operate this new jail, we will have to separate dispatchers and jailers. Currently, the lion's share of that, 700,000-ish of it, is the salary for the dispatch jailers. So that's the salary and all the parameters, so Social Security matching, health insurance, retirement, all that. So the bulk of that $1 million I just mentioned is for their salaries to operate the jail. As soon as we operate this new jail, we'll have to separate those. So that 700,000 will still have to be used for them to be dispatchers.
Right, well, why can't they do that dispatching from the new jail?
They can dispatch, but they can't be jailers.
Are they dispatching in jailers now?
Yes.
Then why can they not do it at the new jail?
I'll let Sheriff Boyd answer that.
Well, just the way it's set up, we got a dispatch room right there, intake area for prisoners. We've only got like, I guess, 6 operational cells, maybe down to 5 now. We got leaks in there, everything else, but I think we only got about 5, 6 jails that we can use right now. They're within earshot, they're right there, but they're not going to be at the new jail. They're going to be separated from the jail. They'll be in the sheriff's office. So they can't act as jailers at that point, okay?
Right.
So
I understand that.
that's why we have it.
But my statement was, why can't that budget that you currently have pay the light bill at the new jail and you move out there instead of just letting it sit empty like the county judge said they wanted to do?
I think the responsibility of the sheriff's office could move there. We can't move the jail.
there. I think somebody does need to be occupied now. 'Cause once-
And it will be occupied, we all know that.
Just the sheriff's office, but.
I just kind of took
it's still
offense
kinda-
at the
it's still
state.
kinda up in there, though. We don't know everything, how much extra it's gonna cost.
Yeah. And looking at the budget here, you know, it appears to me like there's a lot of fluff built in a lot of areas there that could be cut out.
Well, I mean,
$315,000 for incidentals, so, you know, pretty much.
well, that's just, here's what I did with that, okay? Because I figured out the personnel cost, yes, and I added like 150,000 in overtime, because I don't know, starting out, we're gonna have to use more overtime as well, okay? But most of the jails, what I found out, they're operating, I think it was between 67% of the personnel cost, okay? So I took that, what I came up with was 65%. Okay, so then that's where I came up with the remaining for the other supplies and stuff as well. So I'm using this percentage. I think it could be less than that as well. But I'm using percentages where I came up with 60 to 67% was the personnel cost for these jails. I came up with 65% on my budget, and that's where I came up with the rest for the other. So I think it could be lower than that. That's where I'm at. I think I gave us a pretty good estimate of where we need to be. Do I know where every penny nickel is going? Absolutely not. I won't know until about 2 or 3 years. Then we'll have a better idea where all the money's going and where it needs to be and what we can cut.
Thank you, Sheriff. We have a final
One last
question.
one, this is it. Let's go ahead.
No, wait a minute, you got 1 year, it's been set all
Let him say.
We can't hear you.
Go ahead, Wes.
Okay. We have a lot of funding coming in, the state funds and what the sheriff alluded to earlier. The state actually is giving the county some money, is my understanding, for these inmates after the minute that the judge says they're guilty or they're found guilty. $42 a day for that. There's also a lot of income generating opportunities with a jail of this size. You have 148 beds, and the chart that was up there has various jails with different number of beds, but we actually reached out to all of those counties today, spoke with jail administrators, and most of them are full, just like ours would be, very similar. So my specific question is what about all of these extra money that could easily add up to $400,000 annually? What about all of that extra money, including the $150,000 that the county got this year from the state for adjudicated prisoners?
Well, it's something that's going to be cut down too, because phone services, they're cutting that. That's been done, federal law this year. So phone services, that's going to cut that. Yes, there is extra money, but I can't budget on what I think we might get on
But that's what you're doing.
or whatever. I'm budgeting on what a sales tax would likely produce.
Might do.
So that's where we're at. Okay. But I don't know what people are gonna take in commissary and everything else, so I don't know what that's gonna be. But yes, there are other revenue streams that could be out there, but, we kinda need to operate and find out what that is. What was the other, did you have another question with that, was?
Yes, the follow-up is, you know, I'm totally 100% supportive of the law enforcement. I, spent time helping them for the last 4 years plus. Been on call with a lot of your deputies. So I understand it's heartening to them. I mean, it's totally disheartening when you see the guy that's choked a woman out and ran from the cops and everything else, and he's out for $100 before you even get out of the building. I understand totally. So I'm totally supportive of the law enforcement, and I know we can't run a jail without a tax. I don't see any way to do it. But is 1% the number, and how do all these other counties do that for 0.5%?
Exactly.
Well, their needs are not as great, I would say,
But we don't know what our needs are.
Well, that's why I did come up with a budget here too. I know you didn't see all the numbers and everything,
But we want to.
He's
asked.
Will you make copies of what you?
Right, it's in the chair.
No, it's not.
The chair.
On the internet.
These exact numbers is on this board is in the chair.
What I'm telling you though is personnel costs, that's what I figured out first, okay? And I tried to do that realistically. I think the jail administrator was sitting at
You're repeating the same thing, and we've already heard
47,000.
that.
I think, I'm trying to get actual numbers.
I understand that, but you just tell us we're not gonna remember. I'm asking if you can put it actually on
Look,
the
I understand the
website.
frustration, I understand your aggravation, but what you're trying to do is debate, that's not what this is for.
It's not a debate, Travis.
So, go ahead. Last question.
All right. My name is Nick Phillips, I live in Waiter. But I had a couple of questions for you, one, because I think I heard part of it from Larry and Ronnie, y'all were up there, y'all were, maybe I wasn't listening real good and need new ears. The jail, I'm like the sheriff and everybody else, we need a jail in Madison County, period. We need a 300-bed jail in Madison County. Okay? The problem is we can't afford it. That's a fact. But is it raising the money for the people on the sales tax the way to get it, or fight to get more business into the county so we can operate that way? I'm glad you know we've got an economic development lady that tried to hire this morning. Anyway, so maybe we do that. But also on our new home construction in Madison County, this went up tremendously. Okay? Does that money, did it fall back into general funds? Is that, also, I've got one for Austin, Larry, and Ronnie both, so that's why I'm asking that.
To answer your question, if you're talking about new construction for homes,
Correct.
The property tax that the county gets, we collect 9 total mills. There's 5 mills that go to county general, 3 mills that go to road and bridge.
You're talking about my hand, boss. I said,
It went up sky high this year.
mine went up to over $400 a month.
Yes, and that has to do with the state reappraisal.
Okay.
So, which.
How much of that money went and goes into, I mean, I'm not rapping about that. I want to know, can we use some of that money that went into the county to go into general funds? Can we use it to operate some, pay for some of the jail?
We can, yes, but I will say, because as we talked about earlier, we do not, I know you said your property taxes went up $400?
A month, no, a month is what it cost me.
So, taking that out, $4,800, so 10% of that would be $480, which would be about what the county would see.
Okay, I'll give that $480.
So,
Every, put it in the
but
jail fund.
I said the county would see only 5/9 of that goes to county general. The other's dedicated to the road and bridge and the library.
Oh, well, no, God knows the road department is.
So, this is what I will say. I actually, when the planning board was meeting about the proposed, originally 1,000-house subdivision going out in Hinesville, when I factored in those houses at their estimated property value, county general from 1,000 houses would get between $300,000 and $350,000, and that's 1,000 new constructed houses. So property value goes much at a slower pace.
If she holds that number up on me while you're giving me all these numbers, we're trying to figure out a way to get the jail passed.
I guess this
and
will,
to get it going, because I'm gonna tell you, like the chief said a while ago, I'm dead set against taxes. I mean, we need the jail, the judge said it, the auditor, you both said it there. We're owed over $4 million in back fines right now. Okay?
Why aren't we out collecting
We ain't got no, I don't have anywhere to put it. I'm not speaking for you, Sheriff, but there's nowhere to put it. Pick up somebody. It's been said for a while.
I will finish this way. I agree with you that as property values increase, it will change the burden on various county departments. As we work with the city and Ms. Holt to work on economic development, that will change factors too. Carroll County, because they have so much industry, it changes that they bring it forward. But that's something that we have to see as a long-term.
All right, well, my actual question was, instead of making all those statements, and I think I heard Larry, I think I heard you say, if the jail tax doesn't pass, are we still going to open the jail?
And I'm glad you asked me that so that I can make sure that I clarify myself as far as what he asked. We cannot open the jail. And
Not even one pod of it?
no.
Okay.
No, but, and the reason that I say that is because, Lonnie says he's gotta have 12 to 15 people. We're talking, numbers of close to $1 million.
Well, if
Just
we've
in
got,
salaries.
all right, if we're gonna have 12 people to open one 50-bed pod, then how are we gonna do with 21 people? Wouldn't that be like 36 people? If it's 12 for 50, and we've got a 150-bed jail, if I had 12, 12, 12.
I understand.
It's not exponential like that. You just need that minimum, okay, that's where you've got to start out having a base where you cover all the shifts, cover every position.
Days off.
And so then, and so then it's easier, it scales up at less cost in personnel.
Well, if the jail tax doesn't pass, are we still gonna move the sheriff's office, not the jail, the sheriff's office and dispatch up there? I think I heard y'all say something about that while we opened.
The sheriff's office could only be the only thing that would move up there, because
So who's gonna pay maintenance and operation?
I'm sorry?
Who's gonna pay maintenance and operation? You're not getting that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Could possibly, but we don't know. I don't like to see a new building sit empty either. So I guess we have to check on it, but the warranty on it starts after they turn the keys over. So we need to make sure everything is functioning properly. Is there a possibility? Yes, there is a possibility the sheriff's office could move there. I don't know if that is going to be a likelihood or not, but that would be the only case where the sheriff's office would move there.
Let me also say that. If you get it to quit flooding, or talk to God, only thing I can tell you. Let me bring up, what I was going to tell you now.
That's how he rolls, Larry. He gets you confused, that's how he does it.
Big, I apologize.
That's all right, Larry. Ask Travis how he thinks he's God anyway.
Can somebody else go get that? Golly. All right, so we're going to let them make a 2-minute closing statement, each one of these. And I want to say, before they do, it does my heart good to know that there's so many opinions in this room. And I mean, we have done a fantastic job of keeping composure. Nobody's got thrown out. Everybody's been pretty respectful for the most part. And it just shows what a community that we live in, Madison County. I appreciate you all coming out tonight. This means a lot to the city. We were getting lots of questions that we couldn't answer. That's why we had you all here tonight, and we really, truly appreciate y'all coming out, and appreciate y'all keeping it simple. Thank you very much again for that. So, Sheriff Boyd, I'll let you go ahead and make a closing statement.
Yes, thank you everybody for coming out. That's all we're going to accomplish anything. So we can just get together, talk to each other. We may not like each other's answers, whatever, but we'll carry our conversation later time. It's just good to see everybody coming out and just have a conversation. And that's what community should do. That's what it should be about, working together, find that unity, commonality. That's how we progress. So thank you all very much for coming out. Appreciate it.
Again, thank you, everybody. Make no mistake, these guys and these women in law enforcement in this community are doing a very difficult job, and they are loyal to this cause. They're out there still enforcing the laws. They are not going to stop enforcing the laws just because we can't do anything to these people. Another thing that wasn't brought up that has happened in the past is these sheriffs that are holding these prisoners for us can pick up the phone at any time and say, come get them, we don't want them anymore. That happened. And we were scrambling all over the state to take them to places. Their jails are full too. So just because we have 50 prisoners housed in other jails doesn't mean that they can't pick up the phone tonight and say, come get them. And then what are we going to do with it? I mean, that's the reality of it. I'm a numbers guy. I'm not a gaslighter. That's a new thing that everybody talks about now with the political climate the way it is, but I'm a numbers guy. I appreciate what you said about numbers. In the city of Huntsville, our call and contact calls in 2022 was 4,400. Last year it was 6,400. Guys, it's not getting better. And a lot of people that we are arresting over here aren't from Madison County. They're from Washington County, they're from Benton County. Used to, we were running about 80% of the people that we incarcerated or that we arrested was local people. Now it's almost half. Those people are coming over here because they know there's nothing going to happen to them. And I've had people threaten me, threaten my family, because I was saying this. You can't tell people that there's no law and order over there because then the criminals are going to come over. Are you kidding me? They're already over here. They know. I don't like this. I don't like coming up here and asking for money, but that's what we're doing. And if there's another way, guys, let us know. Another thing, the city is behind this, very much so, to the point where we could have allowed that our 1 cent sales tax on our bonds to extend another 7 years at the tune of about $1.1 million a year, that the city voted to let it sunset last summer and let that 1 cent roll off so that we could get this tax before the people. And that 1 cent that we were taking, we basically gave up, hopefully, that the people of Madison County would take that 1 cent back and build this jail. They voted unanimously to let it go. That was almost $8 million that the city gave up. That's how much we believe in this. And it's public safety. It comes with a price. Jails aren't popular. They're like fire extinguishers or bulletproof vests, seat belts. You don't want them. I mean, you don't like spending money on that kind of stuff, but when you need it, you need it. And I don't know where we're going from here. I mean, if we can't punish people for wrongdoing, what's next? I don't know, guys. I wish I had some better news. Okay, I'm done.
That's a good cue, Larry. Thank you. God almighty.
Thank you. I just want to say again, thanks to Mayor Dodson, City of Huntsville, for putting this on. And by the way, I had absolutely no intention of trying to strong arm anyone. And in my closing statement, the thing I want to say is that there are $3,362,445.24 worth of outstanding warrants in the county. Justice to get them to either pay their fines, set them up on payment plans, whatever. A lot of these numbers would come down if we could tell them that, if you don't pay your fines or you don't pay these warrants, you're going to have to spend time in jail. I just want us to do justice to our citizens. We have determined, because we voted to build the jail, we determined the need for that. And so we ask that you afford us the opportunity to be able to.
Thank you, Judge.
Once again, I get to be the caboose. But it comes with some benefits. One, a captive audience, and Carmen Stein has no control over me anymore. So, beyond that, I want to reiterate, thank everyone for coming out. It's very good to see that the community is so interested and involved. I guess I'll thank Travis too, but mainly Brandy, because we know she did most of the work. Thank you, Brandy. But, moreover, I know there's people in this audience that are for the tax. There's people in the audience that's against the tax. And you brought up many great questions today. Larry mentioned that, we have passed the 0.5% bond retirement tax. We're obligated to it. We have the jail constructed. And by giving us the opportunity, as Judge Garrett had mentioned, for having this tax, it opens up a multitude of opportunities. I heard multiple people, Ms. Montoya and many others, talk about what community involvement can be involved and how they benefit the community beyond the very important thing of deterring crime and putting prisoners where they need to be. We've talked about the EMS tax, and freeing up those funds does just that. We have $700,000 that is going to currently operate the jail. Those funds can be used for so many more things. We've talked about, with the former court and Judge Garrett, about putting a South County EMS facility so that response times is better for those people living in the south part of the county, because that literally saves lives. We've talked about the need of building an emergency operations centers to actually house our Department of Emergency Management and building new EMS headquarters. We've talked about necessary courthouse updates, like putting an elevator in so that disabled citizens can better get to the courtroom. Technology updates so that we can give you more information and more efficiently serve the needs of the citizens. Those are all things that can be done by freeing up those funds. We can make EMS better, we can make all our departments better, we can make our county safer. And that's all contingent on affording us the opportunity of having this 1% sales tax. So I'm in favor of it. The members here are in favor of it, and I really hope that we are able to answer your questions in a way today that helps you make the most informed decision whether you decide to vote for or against the tax. So again, thank you all for coming out tonight.
Thank you, Austin.
I'd just like to mention one last thing. Jail construction, we're winding down. We're going to have a facility that they're going to be handing us the keys at the end of next month or the 1st of June.
Thank you. And to kind of cabbage onto that, just so you all know, for those of you that haven't been out to the new jail facility and would like to attend, there's going to be an event out there. It's on the screen, yeah. Madison County Open House, but more importantly, in my opinion, is the Back the Blue campaign. The Republican Party of Madison County is sponsoring the Back the Blue campaign at the same time out there. So you're more than welcome to come out, take a tour through the jail. I think the deputies and them are doing the tour. Is that correct? Yeah. All right. Deputies are doing the tour of the jail. So come out and look at it. What else, Brandon? Oh, Austin, real quick. Will you go over early voting and election day? It's up there on the board. You can read it because I know you don't know anything about that.
You got that? Yeah. Okay. So, as I'm sure everybody is aware, the election is being held Tuesday, May 13th. That's just general election day. Exactly 1 week before that, we start early voting. So early voting will be held that Tuesday through that Friday from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. That next Saturday, that's the 10th, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And then the Monday before the election will be held from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. The state loves to make all the dates and times confusing, so you're welcome. There it is.
Yeah. Again, thank you all. Thank you all for coming out. Have a safe trip home. It's been raining a lot. Thank you, Becky, with the zero. Anyway, God bless and good night.